Hey there, and welcome to another episode of Michaela Up Close, a podcast where I overshare about my personal life and have unfiltered chats with comedians, friends, and experts about all kinds of juicy topics, often relationships and dating. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different because I'm bringing on a co-host, Alice Anderson. I know her from the comedy scene here in Ottawa. We're also really good friends, and we're going to talk about Femcels and female serial killers. And if you don't know what a femcel is, we're going to explain it to you. All right, so yes, we're talking about femcels, and some people might be wondering, what the hell is a femcel? Well, it's a feminist incel. And if you've been living under a rock and you don't know what an incel is, it's basically men who can't get laid. They are involuntary celibates, and even though they want a sexual partner, they just can't get one.
So a really important difference, Michaela, between incels and femcels is that incels are involuntary celibates, whereas femcels are voluntary celibates, right? Because, come on, let's face it, women can get laid anytime they want.
Oh, for sure. I mean, even if a woman isn't hot at all, she can just walk into a Walmart and boom, the first man she sees, she doesn't even have to say anything. She can just point at the dude, point at her vagina.
Listen, she doesn't even have to leave the house if she doesn't feel like it. You can just be in your bed, send a couple texts, send a couple pictures, and get the guy to drive to her house. Maybe pick up some tampons along the way, some ice cream.
A Diva cup, totally.
A Diva cup. Now, me, for example, I'm not celibate currently, but I identify as a femcel because it's a little bit like a mindset, like a religion, right? So I'm a femcel, a little bit like someone who's a Christian, but who really only goes to church once a year. It's nice to be part of something, and I believe in the movement, but I don't want to get up every Sunday morning.
Yeah, totally. So you can enjoy the perks of being a femcel, but it's not letter of the law. You don't have to be celibate.
Exactly.
It's more of like a mindset.
That's right.
So yes, of course, femcels are really different from incels. When I was researching this, I actually found an article titled, "What are some signs you might be an incel or nice guy?"
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Well, okay, first sign. If you have to ask on the internet whether you're an incel, you're definitely an incel.
Yeah, so true. And
if you're a nice guy, you don't have to say it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're nice, you show people. It's like those guys who say, "I'm a feminist."
That's right. What is that about? Just be nice to women.
Mm-hmm.
We should clarify, though, that femcels are not man-haters, right? Common mistake. We're not mad at men. We're not angry at them. We're just disappointed.
Yeah, totally. And we're not extreme femcels, like female serial killers or black widows, like in nature, black widows.
That's right. Praying mantises.
We could put those on our logo, but we're not killers. We don't want to kill men or eat them alive.
Of course not. I mean, you, Michaela, you're vegan and gluten-free. That just would not work.
Oh, no. I would never eat a man after sex. I mean, not his body. I just devour his soul.
Exactly, right? The key word here is physically. We would never physically hurt men. We just find other ways to torture them, right? We're creative. For example, one of my favorite ones is giving them the play-by-play of my dreams every single morning.
That's a good one. Yes. And I'll go into detail about my period with a guy just to see the light die in his eyes.
Oh, classic. I love to talk throughout whatever they're watching, whether that be a video game that they're playing or maybe a sports game that they're watching.
That talking is a good go-to. Actually, I find just talking about how I'm vegan is a great way to torture men.
That's right. Yes, absolutely. And so if we think of being a femcel as a state of mind or as we think of it, a religious movement, I think that our congregation, right, our trusted members would be called the Femme Civilization.
Yeah. the Femme Civilization, anyone can join except incels.
Incels are not welcome here.
And like people might think, oh, incels, femcels, you're a perfect match. No, they are like our arch enemies.
Absolutely. Israel and Palestine, people.
Mm-hmm. Or like cats and dogs. We're cats, obviously, because we're the superior ones. We know it.
That's right.
We're more intelligent.
Exactly. And we don't eat or poop.
We just spread it around everywhere for other people to clean up.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the other thing is that, so incels want a less gynocentric society. They think society is too female focused, too vagina focused. And as femcels, we think it's not gynocentric enough.
Not enough.
And that's why, you see a lot of male statues.
So many male statues.
Which is also why there are so many statues being toppled as well.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, it wouldn't happen if there were more female statues.
Listen, not at all.
And so, like, what do we have? The Statue of Liberty?
Ugh.
Come on.
Come on.
Obviously, it was a man who made that statue.
Obviously.
Because she's not even wearing real clothes. She's wearing a blanket.
She is barely dressed. She just rolled out of bed.
And she's supposed to represent freedom? What? Like, if she's supposed to represent freedom, I think she should be wearing pants and no shirt. Because free the nipple, right?
Hashtag.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but going back to the Femme Civilization, one thing we do ask of our members is you got to take a pledge and obey our 4 Femme Civilization commandments.
That's right. And Michaela, as you know, that pledge is non-negotiable, and you and I have both taken it. And the first commandment, Michaela, is thou shalt put fellow femcels first.
Yeah, you cannot ditch your femcels for men.
Exactly. Chicks before dicks, am I right?
Yeah, that's a deal breaker.
The second commandment, Michaela, is thou shalt honor thy vagina.
Right. People in other religions give up alcohol and drugs. Femcels give up waxing and thongs. It's a fair trade.
No more vagina shackles.
I'm so ready for that. My vagina has taken a lot of beatings.
You know,
so that sounds bad. I don't mean sexually at all.
No, right. I think you just mean above the comfort.
Yes. Like from a young age, right? You do the waxing, the plucking. And when you're really young, before you know any better, you nair.
Oh, God, I have nared myself. Listen. Victims of chemical burns, write us.
Yeah,
write
we've
us.
suffered. We've suffered. So it's time to honor the vagina. And the third commandment is thou shalt not laugh at men's bad jokes.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. Because nothing will destroy a man's confidence faster than a woman not laughing at his jokes.
Oh, true.
And I think it's even worse for a man, like it feels even worse to him than a woman not faking an orgasm.
You know, Michaela, I think that you're absolutely correct. And that actually brings us to our 4th commandment. Thou shalt not fake orgasms ever again. Now, Michaela, have you ever faked an orgasm?
Not that, I mean, just my entire 20s. I mean, if I had a penny for every time I faked an orgasm, I wouldn't need to steal from men anymore. But hey, don't worry. It's just reparations, right? For all the shit men have done to us.
That's right. That's what we're about, right? Getting reparations for being treated like crap. One personal story that I have about being treated like crap by a guy and definitely feeling like I require some reparations now that I'm a couple years removed is I dated a guy when I was in university a couple of years ago, and he was on the university basketball team. And even though he lived very close to school and the gym, he did not have a car, and somehow we got into the routine of me driving him to practice every single day.
Oh, no, you didn't.
I did. Just like his mom. Bye, sweetie. Don't let the big guys pick on you.
And how did that make you feel?
Honestly, it made me feel kind of used, especially since I realized a little bit later that I thought we were being exclusive. He didn't have the same impression. Yada, yada, yada. Listen, you owe me gas money, Stefan, if you're listening.
Oh my goodness. Such a common story, right? And the whole, oh, I didn't know we were being exclusive. What? Like...
Gaslighting at its finest.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I have a similar story. Well, not about driving, but I dated a guy who, he was younger, of course, which was my bad. After 3 weeks of dating, he was like, hey, like, do you think I could move in with you? You know, just temporarily, just for a couple months.
Oh, no, no, no.
At first I was kind of like, oh, wow, he thinks the relationship is going so well. But no, he was just broke.
He was unhoused.
He's a homeless person.
He was a homeless person.
Yeah, not a compliment. He's just using you. So this is all just pretty innocent. I think it's fair. We're totally fair as femcels. And we're not trying to truly hurt men. Although there are those serial killers, which I do find intriguing. Female serial killers are intriguing.
Absolutely fascinating. They fascinate me.
Mm-hmm. Who's your favorite?
My favorite is this female killer dubbed the Internet Black Widow. And so her name is Melissa Ann Shepard. She was born in New Brunswick. She lived in Florida, Prince Edward Island. And she is also known as Melissa Ann Stewart, Russell, Shepard, Friedrich, and Weeks. Michaela, the reason why she has all these names is because her trick was to meet men on the internet, marry them or get engaged to them, kill them, and then move on to her next victim.
Oh, sounds like she was committed to the process.
She was. I mean, she started her criminal training very early in her life, right? So she started when she was young by doing fraud, deception, forgery, served some prison time for that. And then she decided after she divorced her first husband that wasn't enough for her. She wanted more excitement in her life, I think, and probably a little bit more money.
Right.
And so she ended up not exactly sure how that happened. She said it was an accident, but she ran over her second husband twice. She ran him over twice with her car and promptly pocketed his life insurance money, which was $100,000.
Okay, so all these things are terrible, of course. But you gotta admit, these are like, if you were to put these qualities, her characteristics on a resume, she's getting the job.
She is.
She's very committed. She follows through.
She's right.
A jack of all trades. She was doing fraud, all these other things. And she's super ambitious. It wasn't enough.
It was not enough. She saw marriage as an investment. And listen, she just wanted to cash out early. And it was not enough because after she accidentally ran over her second husband, she met her third husband in Florida. So a globetrotting queen, really. And he died under mysterious circumstances not long after he met her. And she also pocketed his life insurance money. And no charges were filed in this one, but to this day, this man's family really suspects that she had a hand in his death.
Yeah, no shit, right? It's like, yes, obviously.
I mean, we could perhaps call it a pattern. So she went to prison for attempted murder, got released from prison, settled near Nova Scotia, right? Strong East Coast presence. I love that. Maybe her and I are related. It's honestly hard to say. And she was living in a seniors complex, and she started pursuing this man who also moved in there. And he, again, after seeing her, he married her very quickly. he started falling ill. And while they were on their honeymoons, he was actually rushed to the hospital, and he had the same drugs in his system as her previous victims.
Okay, we got to rewind here. This woman is picking up men in the seniors facility or wherever the hell she was.
Absolutely. Getting them to transfer the will in her name and slipping benzos in their tea.
Does this woman have a book, like a dating course? Because I'm having trouble even getting guys to show up for a date lately.
I mean, perhaps the next time she goes to prison, she's going to have time to work on it. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I don't condone, of course, the killing, but you got to admit, she knows how to lock a man down. Like,
she does.
She knows how to trap a man.
That's right. And listeners, if you look her up, Melissa Ann Shepard, I mean, she looks like just the cutest little old grandmother. And I have to say that she was released from prison in 2016 at the age of 81 years old, right?
Oh my God.
Senior. Oh, yes. And she is now facing 3 counts of breach of parole because she was caught using the internet at a public library. Melissa just does not quit.
At the library. She does it like, yeah. No, she can't have an iPhone or an iPad. She's gotta go with her like little old lady purse and her cane to the library.
That's right. Log on to Plenty of Fish and check out the offerings.
I'm impressed that she can even use the internet.
I mean, this is a resourceful lady. We have to give it to her. She is resourceful.
Yeah, she's from New Brunswick?
She's from New Brunswick. She lived in Ontario, Florida, Nova Scotia, PEI. But yeah, she was born in New Brunswick.
Yeah, I feel like these are maybe maritimer qualities. I don't know.
Grit, hard work, resiliency.
Yeah. And she's probably got some attitude. I don't know. I can't picture an Ottawa woman doing this.
I mean, she has done a lot of time in prison and she has come out and has kept going. So if anything, it sounds like prison just made her more tough.
Yeah. I love how we're just like talking up this senior serial killer woman. Because no, of course, it's wrong and yada, yada, yada. But then you're like, it's so badass.
It's a little funny.
It is hilarious. And it wouldn't be as funny as if it was a man.
It just wouldn't.
Because, part of humor is incongruity, where something doesn't make sense, right? Like, or two things contrast. So, like seeing a little old lady rob a bank, that's hilarious because it's not something you should see.
That's right. And there could be real victims and real damage, and it's a real crime and a real harm to society. And somehow there is just something about that visual that is hilarious.
Yeah. So I also did some research on female serial killers. And I don't know if you heard of this lady. She's a nurse. She was a nurse, Jane Toppin, and in 1931, she confessed to killing more than 31 people.
31 people.
That's crazy.
That is at least like one full kindergarten class.
I know. That's exactly what I thought. Way to make it even more dark. Yes, so she was a sadistic nurse, and here's what she said. She said, "I wanted to kill more helpless people than any other man or woman who'd ever lived."
Wow.
So this was like an achievement thing. She was an achiever.
She was ambitious.
Probably a perfectionist.
She was type A.
Yeah, and if she didn't have daddy issues or whatever, she probably would have been like the best pie baker in town.
The first female president.
Yeah, or this is 1931, so probably not actually.
Maybe she would have just kept killing people until people just voted for her.
Yeah, it would have been like a Handmaid's Tale situation where she just overtook the government. That I could see. But, she could have had the cleanest house, the the best chili in the cook-off.
That's right.
But instead, she probably had a very traumatic childhood. And
Yeah.
well, let's face it, she was a sociopath.
I think so. I think that makes a lot of sense. 31 people. I mean, that is a lot.
Mm-hmm. I feel like female serial killers, obviously they have a different approach. It seems like just from this Jane Toppin, I think she's not the norm.
Okay.
But a lot of the ones that I've heard of, they do like what the lady you were talking about did, where they get engaged, they get married, they get the pension money. So they have a plan, you know, and they're committed. They put in the time.
They're methodical.
Yes. And then you don't hear as many stories of women who are like Ted Bundy.
Right, where it's kind of messy. It's done in a way that's just very kind of horrific and so violent, and it doesn't seem as impulsive, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even this woman, she killed so many people, but she was there all the time in the hospital. She wasn't going out in the middle of the night with like a rope in her car.
Oh, so you said that she was a nurse, and so you mean that the 31 people that she killed, they were her patients?
Yeah, I'm assuming. I mean, I didn't read in that much detail, but I'm assuming like they were all in the hospital.
Right.
And it was very easy for her to do it.
Right.
Yeah, it was just like probably part of her daily routine. You know, like she would get up, like do her hair, maybe do some affirmations, right?
A dead patient a day keeps the doctor away?
Yeah, well, she was, I guess. But yeah, okay. Who do you think is the most famous female serial killer?
Now, I don't quite remember her name, but I think it would have been that serial killer that Charlize Theron portrayed in Monster.
Yeah, that's who I would have said as well. Eileen Wuornos was her name.
Eileen Wuornos. Okay.
Yeah, and so I think that story is interesting because so this woman, she killed all these men, 7 men, I think it was. And then she has Charlize Theron, one of the most beautiful women, iconically beautiful women in Hollywood, portrays her. And I know they made her ugly for the film, kind of ugly. No, she was ugly. And it's like, isn't that incentive to become a female serial killer?
I mean, goals, right?
Yeah. Like, wow, a beautiful actress can play me in a movie.
Sign me up.
That's the dream.
That's the dream.
All right. So in all seriousness, we're just having fun here, but we really are, you know, just women. We have our struggles with men. And I know, because you're my good friend, that you've felt disappointed in men lately.
Yes, I have.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that journey. How did you get from being presumably like, you know, optimistic, shiny-eyed about men and maybe you weren't, I don't know. When do you think you started to feel disappointed?
I think I probably started to feel disappointed by, I would say probably like mid-August. I got out of a 1-year relationship at the end of July, and I went on a dating app, Bumble, pretty much immediately because that's what I tend to do. I just kind of wanted to see what was up, wanted a bit of a distraction. I find it always kind of helps me move on. But of course, it also tends to take up a lot of my time, give me some anxiety. And so I'm not sure if that was actually the best thing to do, but that's what I did. And the first guy that I met, I had just moved into my new place, and he was looking to acquire some furniture for his next apartment. And I had some furniture that I wanted to give away. And so that was kind of funny because we went on a date, but really it was kind of more of like a lengthy kind of Kijiji furniture exchange.
That's such a Femcel move though. Like,
it really was. I mean, listen, I wasn't that into him, but he was offering to take this furniture away, right? Like take them off my hands, take these pieces of furniture off my hands. And yeah. And so it was kind of mutually beneficial. Convenient. But he was kind of, I think he was a bit immature. He was in his mid-30s, or he was 36. And he still asked his mom to dog sit for him every day, and would talk about how getting his dog had been such a big moment in his mom's life. In his mom's life. And I think that that's really because she probably wanted grandkids, and now she understands that this dog is the closest that she's going to get right now for him.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And so there was kind of some of that. So it just wasn't really what I was looking for. I wanted someone a bit more put together. And then I went on a few dates with this guy that initially, and I had talked to you about him, I was really excited about. He just seemed together. He was a new homeowner, had a good job. He was attractive, super intelligent. And we started kind of getting very close very quickly. Mm-hmm. And then I started realizing, one, that we were just at totally different places in life. So listen to this, Michaela. So this guy was 36, new homeowner.
Oh.
And you had warned me about this. The mid-30s guys from Ottawa, right? Recent homeowners. But I asked him one dinner date, what was on his mind these days, right? What's been on your mind these days? And he said, Michaela, my lawn.
Was he dead serious when he said that?
He was dead serious, and he proceeded to talk to me about his landscaping endeavors for a really long time in the dinner.
What the heck? And in that moment, what were you thinking?
I was thinking, get me out of here. I am about to have a panic attack. I am not ready for this. I do not want this. I have nothing to contribute to this conversation. And I think that I'm moving way too quickly with this guy. And so I ended up breaking it off because I realized that him and I, weren't really a match, and that's fine. But I also started realizing that he had, I think, some kind of underlying issues with women. I think he had some resentment towards women.
You broke his heart.
I broke his heart. I really think he thought that he could stop looking and that we were just going to get married and be together forever and just take care of our lawn.
I mean, I feel evil laughing. Like, oh, you broke his heart. Ha 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 ha. Like, that sounds evil. But I mean, it is funny, the lawn thing. And it's just, I get it though, because I've dated men like him.
Have you?
I see it. I see the guys in their 30s. We've talked about it so much. I've talked about it on the podcast. And it's the same with women in their 30s. We have our issues too. But we should say, like, you are what, 28?
27.
27, yeah. So you have no reason to be dating guys like that.
I think you're right. It was more of an experiment. Usually the highest I'll go is, I tend to like to date guys who are around my age, so not much younger, not much older. And I decided that I was going to try something different, and on Bumble extend my age range to 36, I believe. And I realized that just really wasn't the demographic for me.
No. What would you say is the difference between like the guys your age you date and these guys who are like, between 36 and 42?
Yeah, because I also did go on another date with someone who was 41, kind of within that same period of time. And that just really didn't go well. I mean, he just talked about his buddies and golf. I just really couldn't relate to him very much. I would say that in general, the difference is that men my age, and again, this is a big generalization, but they're a bit more comfortable talking to women just as people, as equals, and not as these like mystical beings from Venus that need to be kind of figured out or manipulated. Or I think men in their late 20s are a bit more kind of conscious that men and women are similar in a lot of ways.
They're
and
like
I think more woke. I think that they're a little bit more open to different sexual orientations, gender expressions. In general, I find that very attractive. And dare I say, I think the younger men are better in the bedroom, in my opinion.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I think that there's been this whole kind of movement, like in the past 10 years of, or maybe longer than that, but I find like I've really kind of noticed it in the past 10 years of really kind of shifting the focus to women's sexuality.
That's true.
Yeah, and understanding like women bodies, women identified people's bodies, and women's sexual pleasure. And there's kind of been like a kind of decentering of like the male orgasm, right? Like in sex, I think it's a little bit more about us. It's kind of become more common to like go down on women, right? That wasn't really done
That's
several
so true.
Yeah, several decades ago. And so I think they're a bit less restricted. They're more creative. I think that they're just kind of freer and more accepting.
Yeah, that's so interesting. That makes sense because before, and even, you know, for me, compared to in my early 20s, I feel like people talk so much more, like you're saying. Women talk more. I feel way more comfortable talking about sex, sexuality, and pleasure. You know, there is like things being out in the open like this. It makes it easier for you to have those conversations with guys.
I agree.
That makes sense. But oh yeah, I wanted to point out that these are the men, these men in their mid to late 30s that you did go on dates with. I mean, they're a specific demographic.
You think so?
Of that age group, because these are the men that are left that aren't coupled up, right?
That's right.
And they're also the men that are actively searching on Bumble and Tinder.
Right.
So this is not everyone.
That's true. That is very, very true. It is a limited sample.
Yeah, because my friend's therapist said that the problem once you get into your 30s is the people who are left are usually avoidant attachment. They have an avoidant attachment style because the people who are securely attached couple up in their 20s and they stay in relationships. And the people who are anxiously attached also couple up and they hold on for dear life. So think of it like it's just a different demographic that's left.
That makes a lot of sense. And I don't tend to do very well with very avoidant men.
And who does?
No one does. Just as men probably don't do well with very, very avoidant women, right? Like people who tend to withdraw into themselves and not let people in and avoid conflict, avoid communication. It's hard to have a relationship with people like that.
Yeah, you can't unless you are anxious. And you really fight for it. And yeah, it ends up being terrible.
Exactly.
So have you noticed any red flags coming up again and again? Or like, have you learned of any new red flags since you started dating again?
Yeah, I would say that I'm noticing that a lot of guys, a lot of young men are kind of feeling a bit maybe like victimized or ostracized, and like they're being made out to be the bad guy in our current society. And kind of like a lot of their privileges have been taken away and that a lot of people are against them. And so, and of course that is a small subset of men who feel like that. But I would say that whenever men start saying things like that, right, that men are the scapegoats for everything and that it's really hard being a man nowadays, a white man, and et cetera, et cetera. I think that is definitely a red flag.
Oh, yeah. That is interesting. I haven't really thought of that one. I'm like, ugh, he uses too many emojis. Red flag.
Well, okay, let's think of some. Let's think of some that are kind of fun or a little bit less serious. Now, here's a big one. If he uses, instead of saying yes or yeah, he uses yeah.
Just Y-E.
Do you know, have you been texted a yeah?
You know who uses that all the time?
Who uses that all the time?
I'm not going to say their name, but it's someone who's very familiar with the term femcel.
Interesting. And who may also be familiar with the term incel.
Mm-hmm.
I think I know who you're talking about. Now, you're telling me that this person uses yeah.
Constantly.
I despise it. I despise it. And no man of mine will use yeah when texting me. That is unacceptable.
That's so funny. But I totally get it. Like, you know what? Because over time, it sounds so shallow, but over time you see this again and again. And you know, okay, this is one of those guys, the yeah guy. Ugh.
That's right. I mean, don't make yourself into a stereotype, God damn it, right? Give yourself a chance. No. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the only time that would be acceptable is if English wasn't his first language.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's never the case though.
No.
It's never those guys.
It's not. Is there anything like from the older men that you went on dates with that you're now like, oh, I should have known because he did this. Oh, you know what? Okay, I remember something you told me about the guy with the lawn. His texting, he signed off in a certain way.
He did, yes. So he stopped doing this as we texted more and more, but he would initially sign off his texts with his name like he would in an email. Listen, this guy was 36. That's not that old. I mean, if someone was 59 and doing that, I think I would understand, right? Maybe my older uncle, maybe my grandpa, maybe my dad. Even then, this guy was 36 and doing this.
And he's signing off his text like, sincerely, Frank.
Exactly. And you know what should have been my first indication, Michaela? He had one of those phone cases that flips open.
Oh, is that really uncool?
It's really uncool.
Is that like a dad move?
It is absolutely a dad move.
Oh, that's so funny. Because so one of my close girlfriends has a cell phone cover like that. But it totally matches because she's totally out of date with everything. She doesn't stay with the times. She was the last to give up her flip phone.
See, she misses the flip phone. And so now she has a flip case, I guess.
Okay, interesting. I'm going to watch out for that. But I don't mind those things as much. To me, those things can be endearing.
They can. And at first, that's what I thought.
There's a line.
There's a line. I mean, one day you have a phone case that flips open and the next day you're preoccupied by your lawn. It's a fine line.
It's so true. That maybe that is the issue, is like the things that I think, oh, that's cute, that's endearing. And I kind of am drawn to men who don't care that much about their appearance, who don't care about being with it, don't have an Instagram, all of that. But when they're like that, I guess there are other things too that can be a problem, because as much as I don't like to admit it to myself sometimes, obviously I care about those things.
Absolutely. And I think it's normal to care about those things. And I think I agree. It's interesting that you say that because I also tend to be drawn to those men But then it's like, oh, cool. Like you're off social media. You're not on your phone a lot. I really respect that. Oh, right. But that means you're never going to text me because you're never on your phone.
Yes, it's true. Yeah, they're usually not very good at texting. But then they may be better at, dare I say it, calling?
Oh, listen, if there ever was a red flag, do not call me. Do not call me unless you're my mother on the phone. Do not call me.
Like ever?
Ever.
Never.
You text or you FaceTime. We're not animals here.
Okay, so they can FaceTime.
They can FaceTime.
So what if you gave your number to a guy that you've been texting with on Bumble? You text, and then suddenly he phones you. What do?
I don't answer. I hide under my bed.
What if they said, "Can I call you?"
See, that's much better. I think I would come up with a fake excuse.
But what if they were like, "Can we chat later?" Like they tried to set up something like what if they wanted to FaceTime though? That's okay.
I think that that's okay. And even if they wanted to chat and they couldn't FaceTime and they set it up in advance, I do like that. It's the kind of like calling out of the blue instead of texting. Listen, as a millennial, I can't abide by that. I cannot abide by that. I hate talking on the phone. It gives me anxiety. I can't see your face. I'd much rather text or FaceTime. But yeah, if they do kind of give a warning and I have time to prepare myself and I know what's going on, then yeah, I'd say that's okay.
Yeah, I have to admit, the calling out of the blue thing, I do feel the same way, although I kind of appreciate it too because I like the courage and the straightforwardness of it. Like they're not going to text forever. They're like, let's get to business. I like that. But in the moment, I'm like, like what's happening?
Exactly. Like it feels really aggressive. But really, I agree with you that, my own issues and anxiety notwithstanding, you can get a lot more accomplished in a 1-minute phone conversation if you're trying to make plans than over like 20 messages where you're trying to go back and forth, right?
Yes.
Sometimes it's just nice to talk to the person on the phone. And I understand that, but I mean, still, right? I'd just rather send the 20 texts.
So, no calling out of the blue. That's a red flag. I feel like with the 30s guys, there are so many. Like, I was talking about this with someone else I interviewed. I think it was Christina Muehlberger. But yeah, like there's two extremes. It's either they're like only casual, like I'm just, playing around, or they're the guys who are on there like, I'm looking for something serious. And then they ask you a million questions right away. Like, do you want kids? Like in the second message.
And you warned me about that. And that is exactly what happened, right? Because they're 36. All of their friends are married. All of their friends have kids. They finally decided that they're ready and they just want it to happen right away. And a lot of men that generation really like younger women, but they don't get that is very kind of aggressive to approach younger women with these kinds of questions.
It is. Even for me, it can be a lot because you feel like you're really being judged.
Exactly. It's almost like a job interview or like they have like a checklist.
And these are big questions too.
Yeah. Do I want kids? I don't know. I'll call you when I find out.
Yeah, you're still studying as well. And okay, so I know that you're kind of into self-help and stuff. Like you're very self-aware.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I'm very proud that like most of my female friends are very self-aware.
Yeah, I agree. I would say the same about mine.
What about your male friends?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, like what's up with that?
There's a discrepancy.
We need to get more guys into book club.
We need to get more guys into book club and we need to get them to stop reading those entrepreneur, lifestyle, biohacking, self-help books. They are not helping.
Oh my gosh. I know what you mean. So because I am an online entrepreneur,
You
I
are.
used to be around those guys a lot, or at least online. I would interact with them, do podcasts with them, and they're just too much. Oh my goodness, they're so intense. What they have to like, they want to optimize, they want to like get peak performance at everything. And you're like, just simmer down. Have you ever dated a guy like that?
I would say that I've dated a guy who wasn't exactly like that or not at that level, but he had tendencies.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I thought that it put a lot of pressure on me. He didn't say that he was expecting me to do those same things that he was doing, but there was almost it was almost implicit.
Right. Yes. Yes. And I don't imagine you doing a lot of those kind of things, like taking cold
No.
showers, going on a keto diet.
No, that is just not my jam.
No.
And I think that eventually I kind of became resentful because I did kind of think that he had certain expectations toward me.
Okay. Yeah. That's the way I feel too. And even though I am in the self-help industry and I have a self-care checklist and I do yoga and all of that, I like to be able to not do those things as well. I have periods where I'm very lazy.
That's right. Balance, living your life, focusing on other things.
Yeah, you don't want someone being all intense. Because, yeah, people always ask me if I would have to date a vegan.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I never even thought about that.
Yeah, they're like, do you only date vegans or vegetarians? I'm like, oh, God, no. Like,
I mean, that would really limit the dating pool.
yeah, like who am I going to go out with? Moon Unit from the yoga studio? Those would be my options.
Yeah,
Indigo. Yeah, okay.
exactly.
So no, and like I want the guy to be more laid back than me because it is annoying being with someone who's so restrictive with their diet. And so luckily for me, the guys I've dated have never been annoyed. They've just kind of accepted the way I eat. I can't read their minds, so I'm sure actually they were annoyed, but it wasn't an issue.
Okay, that's good.
And I think that's because it's just, I don't know, it's just part of my life. I'm not obsessed about it, really. Like, even though I am vegan and gluten-free, which is like a big thing.
Yeah, and you don't apologize for it. You're a good cook. You don't make a big deal out of it, right? You're pretty laid back when it comes to restaurants, right? I mean, I'm not vegan, I'm not gluten-free, but you and I go out to eat. You and I go out to eat all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You cook for me. You've come over to my place for food, and it's not a big deal.
Yeah, exactly. So I wouldn't want to be with someone who's vegan or whatever their diet is, or paleo, oh God, and they're super obsessed about it.
That's the thing. If it becomes a personality trait, then it's just too much.
Yeah, like they're preaching the gospel of CrossFit.
Trying to push it on other people. Like, dude, let me eat my muffin. Like, please.
Yeah, exactly. What would you say your pattern is with men in relationships?
So I think that my pattern is I usually get along with men. I have a lot of fun on dates. I tend to get close with them and serious with them quite quickly. And I tend to be attracted to men who want me to take care of them, but are not so interested in taking care of me in return.
Which doesn't feel very good, I can imagine.
It really doesn't. And it doesn't feel good while it's happening, but somehow it feels kind of uncomfortably comfortable or something like that.
Like familiar.
It feels familiar. Yeah, it's uncomfortable and it's unpleasant, but it's familiar.
That's a red flag, actually, is when you're like, oh, wow, this feels so like just comfortable and familiar. I realized that like after feeling that with certain guys who, objectively speaking, are just dripping in red flags.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, well, I know that he is like still clubbing at 35. I've talked about this guy.
Yes, the one who drank espresso martinis.
Yes, exactly. And all his friends on social media are like Instagram models. But I just feel so comfortable with him. There's something so familiar about him.
Yeah.
And then I realized like, oh, that's a bad thing.
That's right. It's the pattern. I've been here before and it hasn't ended well.
Yeah.
I would say that is my pattern. What would you say is your pattern?
Well, yeah, I mean, choosing avoidant men in all different costumes.
Yes.
They just show up looking so different, acting so differently, and then at the beginning, I can't tell.
Yeah, and you think it's going to be different.
Yeah. But also some things that I realized that I've been doing to compensate is I've been like, oh, well, I'm just going to keep an open mind, give it a try with certain people. And
I do that too.
Yeah. And I realized like, actually, that's not a good thing because my intuition is fairly good. I mean, in certain cases, it's distorted. But with the guys like that, I've been like, oh, I'm just going to give it a try. He's pursuing me. He seems nice. I'm not that attracted, but I'll give it a try. They're the ones who've screwed me over the most.
And you're like, bro, I didn't even want you. You came looking for me and you screwed me over.
Yeah, like I didn't even talk about this in the podcast yet, but during my last wave of online dating, because I haven't been online dating lately.
Yeah.
During the last wave, it was brutal because in fairness, I did let a male comedian swipe for me.
See, I mean, that's the first mistake.
That was a mistake. And he kind of swiped with abandon. I thought he was I wanted him to actually choose people. Like I would have you choose people for me. I would trust that.
Yeah.
I just was realizing like, okay, I'm not choosing correctly for myself. Why not see? And so he chose a bunch of people. And when you're a woman, you match with a lot of people, right?
Absolutely. I mean, you match with almost everyone that you swipe on.
Yes. There were all these people. And so I narrowed it down to, the guys who seemed most promising. And all of them ghosted or canceled in really obnoxious ways.
Oh my God.
So they were horrible because at least the guys that I pick, they're avoidant in more subtle ways that show up later. Like they're quite decent on the surface. They're polite. They're nice guys.
Yes. Those are the guys that I usually kind of end up with.
The nice guys?
The avoidance shows up later.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. And so, but these guys were just outright rude and just bros, I think, because I never go for bros. That was the problem too, was they were bros. And one of them, for example, so we'd been messaging for a while and he had done some things that were a little flaky.
Okay.
Like kind of disappearing and then showing up again. And so I was like, oh, I'll just give it a chance, whatever. He's someone different. And he had kids. And so he like went to a great deal of trouble to set up a first date. He was like, where should we go? He gave me 3 places to choose from and there were nice places and we set a time. He confirmed it.
No red flag so far, really.
Yeah, within that interaction.
Within that context.
Yeah. And then 2 hours before the date, he texted me and he's like, so sorry to have to do this, but, my ex-wife needs me to pick up the kids. So can we reschedule?
He used his kids as an excuse.
And I tried to be understanding. I was like, well, I understand. When are you free?
I mean, listen, it was probably an excuse, but maybe he really did need to pick up his kids. It's hard being a dad.
Yeah, I'm nice. I'm understanding. I'm giving it a chance.
Sure, you're open-minded.
He didn't respond. He just ghosted.
Oh, no.
That actually, even though I was like, who cares? I don't know this person. He's got kids. I don't particularly want to date someone with kids now, for sure.
Right.
But when those kind of things happen, there's no way not to feel bad. I mean, you can feel less bad, but 2 hours before a date, you've gotten ready, you've planned your day around it, and they can't. How can you not feel like a loser?
Absolutely. I mean, Michaela, sometimes it's hard to predict what's really going to make us feel bad, because sometimes it's like a big thing that happens and it doesn't make us feel as bad as we think. And sometimes it's like a smaller thing that really kind of hits us. Me, for example, I think I told you I love podcasts and podcasting, of course. And I matched with this guy on Bumble, and he has on his profile that one of his interests is podcasts. So my first message to him, opening the conversation, was, "What podcast do you like?" And really quickly, he was on his phone. He sends me an answer, and he lists all these different podcasts. I'd never listened to any of them. And he says, "What about you?" And so I send him my own list of podcasts that I like. And he unmatches me. And that hurt my feelings.
He's like, she has horrible taste in podcasts. Unmatch.
How dare you?
Oh, it's so funny that it's cold. I mean, it's fair. Like, we unmatch people, right? Like, it happens. But yeah, it stings.
It stings, and sometimes it doesn't sting, and sometimes for some reason it stings so much.
Yes. So, moral of the story is give no one a chance.
And become a femcel.
Become a femcel. Yeah. Oh, one thing, okay, that we were talking about earlier is I've figured out, like, well, one of my survival strategies to get through lockdown is Amazon Prime Day, the one thing I ordered was the rabbit.
Yes, the rabbit.
You guys, if you guys have watched Sex and the City, you'll be familiar with the rabbit. It's like the vibrator.
That's right. And so you were telling me this, and I told you, "Oh, Michaela, I already have my own rabbit." And guess what? I named it Samantha after the Sex and the City character.
So funny, because this thing is like, I think yours is, you've told me, it's pink.
Mine is pink.
And mine's purple. That'd be funny if I'd seen it. We're like having a sword fight with our vibrators. We're femcells. This is what we do in our spare time.
That's right.
But yeah, they're in these super girly colors, and it has, so it's the regular shape of a dildo, I guess you could say. And then it has like this little thing shooting out, stimulator part that's shaped like bunny ears. It's like a little rabbit. So
that's right.
Super cute and accessible for women. So, and this is, I mean, I'm almost ashamed to say this as a femcel, but this is my first vibrator ever.
Michaela, that is quite the admission.
Can I still be a femcel?
You've taken the pledge. You are in.
Yeah, but I know it's crazy.
Yeah.
I think all that religious indoctrination is what stopped me for so long.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is liberation. Add that. Okay, yeah. So Statue of Liberty, she's wearing pants, no shirt. Instead of a torch, she is holding a rabbit vibrator.
She is holding the rabbit, one of the best inventions of the 21st century. I'm sure everyone would agree.
But anyways, let's wrap this up with some, you know the drill, some wrap-up questions.
Okay.
I actually forgot to bring them up, so let me bring them up.
I'm ready and I'm excited.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to cut this part out.
That sounds good.
Wouldn't that be funny if I left it? Just click, 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 click. Okay. What's one thing that you would tell your 18-year-old self?
Eat. Eat until you're full.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So you would kind of deprive yourself?
I dieted a lot.
If you could have dinner with any 3 people, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
I think that I would choose Hillary Clinton because I want to know what's up in her marriage.
Oh.
She's a fascinating character to me.
Good choice.
I would choose Sigmund Freud and just kind of pick his brain on the human psyche and his understanding of women and maybe debate him a little bit. And for my third person, Elena Ferrante, who is an Italian novelist who has written my favorite series of novels, which is the series called My Brilliant Friend. And no one knows who she is. She uses a pseudonym and she's never been identified. So I'd love to know who she is and what she looks like and what her story is.
Wow. What sophisticated answers. My goodness. Those are good choices. I was going to be like Borat in his mankini.
Yes.
What is one of your secret skills or talents?
I am really good at assembling furniture. IKEA furniture, all different types of furnitures. I'm good at following a plan and putting things together in space using tools.
Do you enjoy it?
I really like it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, next time I have to put something together, I'm calling you.
Sounds good.
What's the last show you binged?
Ozark.
Oh, that's been on my list.
I have been loving Ozark.
Is it creepy?
I would not say that it's creepy. I would say that it's dark. It gives me, it's a very different show from Breaking Bad, but it gets compared to Breaking Bad, and I think the vibes are a little bit similar. It's a bit of a slower pace and a bit more character focused, maybe.
So describe an ideal first date.
I think for me, an ideal first date would be going for drinks and appetizers and then for a walk.
Drinks, appetizers, at like 2 different places?
No, at the same place. Like drinks and appetizers at the same time. And then go for a walk after.
Okay. Yeah, that's a nice, simple first date. Easy to escape.
Exactly.
If a zombie apocalypse were to break out right now, what is your course of action?
My course of action is to, I guess, find someone who can survive and manipulate them to take me under their wing.
Okay, so you would opt to latch onto someone stronger, smarter,
yeah,
survivor.
Who knows more useful skills than I do, right? Like building furniture. Like, what is that going to do, right? There's not going to be an IKEA in the zombie apocalypse. I don't have real skills. So maybe make someone who's like really into survival stuff. Yeah. Like fall in love with me and then just kind of like tag along with them.
What do you want your tombstone to say?
It's been fun. That one kind of took me by surprise. I really never thought about it before.
It's been fun. I like the simplicity of it.
Short and sweet.
Peace out, bitches.
Cheer.
I like it. I like how your answer to the 3 people was like so profound and sophisticated, and then it's just like, peace out.
I have many different facets to myself.
You do. Well, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Michaela. This was really fun.
That concludes another episode of Michaela Up Close. Thanks so much for listening. If you liked this episode, then please do give me a review on Apple Podcasts and subscribe wherever you're listening. All right, I'll catch you in the next episode.